Hey everyone, welcome back to your weekly dose of Minecraft. Now, depending on when I actually get to editing this, which doesn't require much editing, but still requires a little bit of editing and, posting and making a thumbnail. This might come out either Thursday, I'm thinking, or Friday, maybe Wednesday. Right now, we are Wednesday morning, and I think I'd like to get to texturing our wall, our big retaining wall that we have out front. And actually, while we're here, this has just all oxidized, and I think I like the way it looks more than when it was orange. Should I honeycomb it, or do we wait until it's green and see what we prefer? I think we'll let it go green and then we'll see what we prefer. So yeah, in today's episode, while we're talking, I think I'm just going to be like kind of chipping at the wall here and kind of working at its texturing. So yeah, the last one came out for me yesterday, so we are probably double dipping in doses of Minecraft this week. Ooh, I'm pretty much caught up with my studies, and I have an exam maybe later. The teacher's not clear. I have definitely one tomorrow morning and one Friday. So yeah, I thought I had about an hour before taking the bus to go to school. So let's get some let's get some Minecraft in. And I thought today we'd talk about how Minecraft changed my life. And I know how cliche that might sound. Let's actually go grab our stone cutter. That'll make it a lot easier for us. I know how cliche that might sound, but truly, without Minecraft, my position in life right now and where we are wouldn't be the same. And that's not exclusively talking about YouTube and making videos. Like, my whole path right now would be different. So I figured we'd talk about that, and at the same time, maybe I'll talk a bit about my story, glossing over some things for sure, but, I thought it'd be cool to share. Maybe some people would be interested. So yeah, my story and how Minecraft has influenced it so far. So I think we're going to start a little bit a ways back, and I'm going to gloss over some things for sure. If anyone has any questions, or if you by chance are interested to know more, feel free to leave me questions and stuff down in the comments. Either we'll talk down there, or maybe I'll take those questions and then we can talk about them in some future videos. So thinking back to when I was a child, I think I was always the sort to consider myself a creative and artistic. Never really, I think, excelling necessarily at something, but I was always like kind of more of that mindset and more of that makeup. And my sister, I think, resembles me a lot in that sense, and my brother's a bit different, and I think we'll talk about that right now. So we'll talk about me first. Haha. So now, as a kid, for as much as I can remember, I always was way into arts and crafts. And when I was like the youngest that I can remember, the hobby that I was into the most, I think, was drawing. I used to draw a lot. At some point near the end of elementary, I think I was thinking I could be like some kind of pop star or something, and got into singing. That never really led anywhere. I never kept that up. I was like way into where are there monsters nearby? I was like way into like Jason Derulo at the time, and between you and me, when One Direction came out, that was my jam. So anyways, way into creative stuff and arts. And then in high school, I can't quite remember. I think I was more into drawing for most of it, and at some point I was actually considering graduating and going into something to do with game design, but not necessarily designing the games. We're gonna have to go sleep somewhere else. There's a monster somewhere and I can't find them. Not necessarily designing the game, but more so like drawing character models and concept art. I thought that was what I was going to do. I never actually gave it that much of a push though, and got to it a skilled enough level to actually do that. But I was always making things and wanted to be in something that was artistic and creative. What's interesting is my brother, he is kind of dissimilar to my sister and I in that aspect, more similar to my father, where back then I think I would have considered him less creative. And I think actually if you'd ask him now, he'd probably say that he's not necessarily creative, but I'm not sure. I'd have to actually ask him. But looking back, him and even my dad, I think are actually really creative and did some really cool things. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit. And for Slip, if by chance, buddy, you're watching this, I'll talk a bit more about those toys that he used to make that I was talking about. So, heck is that? Oh, I need string. Yeah. So, what he did is he would make like he's way into hunting and fishing and all like the outdoorsmanship kind of stuff. So what he would do is he'd like get some scraps and stuff from my dad's workshop, because my dad is right now he's in construction, but he's a carpenter, and he would like make a lot of our toys and stuff when we're younger. He has like a TV stand that he still uses to this day, which is something that he handmade himself. I have actually behind me a shelf for that. When I was in high school, I was way into Call of Duty and we were playing like Black Ops 2 and Ghost when it came out. So I have a big shelf behind me that my dad made that has, it says Black Ops 2, Black Ops on it with 2 P's. It has the Call of Duty Ghost logo. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So my brother is more similar to my father in that aspect. And what he would do is he'd kind of like get scraps and stuff from my dad's workshop, and he'd make these makeshift like bows and targets and guns, and pretty much like played pretend hunting with that. And like looking back on it, it's like, no, he had to make those. That's creative. It's kind of cool. So I guess we all had some inkling of creativity in us. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that bit in there. So yeah, in high school, what was I saying? I was more into drawing, and I was actually like trying to get better and following some YouTube lessons and learning about shading and stuff. I had like an easel, and I had what's it in English already? I can't remember. Kohl, I think a Kohl set for drawing. Kohl pens, and not pens, but pencils. I'd have to check, but I don't remember exactly when. At some point I did stop drawing as much as I used to, and I actually think it was when I got more into music. So at some point near the end of high school, I got into music more. I don't know exactly what triggered it. I think at some point I started listening to Green Day, and I don't know, man. At that time, it clicked. I was way into it, especially like their first albums. And that kind of pushed me to want to try to play guitar. And my uncle played guitar. So I asked him, and he ended up, he came over for a day and like lent me his guitar while he was there and showed me a few things. And I think I spent that whole day learning chords and stuff and just like seeing how I felt playing the guitar. And I remember it was like so cool. So difficult, but so cool. And then I pretty much just pestered my parents to give me a guitar, and they ended up buying me one off of Amazon. And from there, I spent a lot of time practicing and getting into that. And what was cool was I have a cousin who's actually my uncle's kid, but he's older than I am by like a decent margin. I think he's like 15 years my senior, about. So and he also plays guitar, and his whole kids, all of his kids I think play some instrument. So what he ended up doing, which was really cool, and I'm really grateful for, is he lent me he lent me a Fender Strat, guys, with an amp. And so I could start like learning electric guitar stuff and playing that. So that was really fun. And for a while, I thought that was like my life's goal and my passion. So I spent so much time practicing, so much time learning, and got really good really quick. I find, like, I'm not an extraordinary guitar player, but I'm definitely above average, I'd say. Like I mentioned yesterday, my skills now motor wise are a lot less than they were. I was never the fastest, but you know, I'm better than the average Joe, I guess I'd say. Year 4 and 5 was when I was way into guitar, and at that point I was like, you know what, I think I think I'm gonna go study into music, which was a choice. My parents actually backed it, and I was not sure for a while because and this isn't necessarily to boast, but I was a good student in high school. I had good grades. Um, I'd have to check. I think my average overall in all my classes was probably, like, if you were to average every class, I think around 86 or something around those lines. So not like top tier, but like I was scoring decently well. My weakest subjects were French, because where I live, the main language is French. So my weakest subject was French, and I think history, but like all the rest, I was scoring pretty well. Math was good, science was good, physics. Harder time in phys ed. I wasn't the most athletic kid, and I'm not the most athletic now. I actually got better at one point, and then I lost the habit, but that's a story for another time. We're still working on it. Let's go actually take a peek at our wall from over there while I gather my thoughts as well. Yeah, it's a bit harder to actually talk in texture, but I think it's good practice and it's fun. So, the point being, I'm not trying to brag about my grades, but if I wanted to, I could have gone into pretty much any subject I wanted to in college. And if I needed better grades, I'm pretty sure I could have like actually invested a bit more of my time and effort to get those grades if needed. But I didn't have really any motivation. And by the time our high school ended, I didn't really want to go and do more math or more science. There's nothing that really like piqued my interest, but I was way into playing guitar. So I figured, hey, why don't I try to do this thing? So I took a year off to study with a teacher that lived about, I think, 45 minutes from my house. So every Monday I'd drive with my dad's car 45 minutes away to go get a private guitar lesson. And then during that time, I was also working like a job to get money. And then I went to the auditions, got accepted, and then moved to another city to go to college in music. So at this point in my life, I was pretty much convinced that that was going to be my career and what I was going to do. I think part of me, I would like not have said this out loud, but I was like, maybe I can make it big and, live off of that. But at the same time, it's kind of funny when I think about it because I'm not so much now. I'm still very introverted and like to be to myself. But back then I was really, really shy and had a hard time like socializing and making friends and stuff. And a big part of actually doing anything in music, and this is I think true for a lot of jobs and careers as well, a lot of it is like who you know and who you can associate with. So like spending my whole time not actually going out with people and playing with them didn't do much for my potential music career, but that's it is what it is, and I'm aware of that. But anyways, I went through college and did pretty well, practiced a whole lot, learned a whole lot, but it feels like it passed by in a flash. And what I decided to specialize in, so for that degree, there are basically two branches, and if you wanted to, you could like extend your stay and actually take the two branches, but there are two branches. So there's what they call interpretation and composition. So composition is what I did, which is what it sounds like, where you focus more on composing music and writing music. And I always felt that being more of the type to want to make things and express myself, especially back then, I was like really like emotional. Composing just made the most sense for me. And I never had much interest just like straight up learning something that someone else made 100%. Even to this day, like I can, but I don't have much interest following tutorials and stuff. I like making my own things. So I'll like follow tutorials to like get bits and bobs and some more knowledge, but it doesn't interest me as much as making my own thing. So I went to composing. I think those were my two favorite years of college. It was a weird time because it was the first lockdown for COVID-19. So by then, all of my classes were by Zoom, which I am aware that it was like very bad for a lot of people, and I'm not like trying to talk against that, and I'm not wishing to go back to that. From my perspective, then I did not enjoy the pandemic, but the actual like Zoom classes, for the most part, I did enjoy because a lot of the actual teachers didn't want to do that. So, but mind you, I was in college, so I was older, and like I said, I do consider myself to be a good student. So I am able to keep myself organized and take care of my own things, and am very self-motivated when it comes to getting my stuff done. So a lot of the teachers didn't actually want to do full-on Zoom lessons all the time. They weren't comfortable with it. So I had quite a few classes where the teachers basically said, hey, take all this stuff and just like get it done. I'm not going to do any classes. Let me know if you need to talk to me. Then we'll organize like a Teams meeting. But we are not doing weekly classes of Zoom. Which actually, looking back on it now, having done that as a teacher for like guitar and piano lessons, disgusting. I hate it. It's horrible. But we'll get to that later. So yeah, for the most part, I actually enjoyed that part quite a lot. And what I did was I actually moved back to my dad's since I couldn't actually go into the college. I moved back to my dad's into the basement and did my classes from there. And I had like the whole basement room set up for school, and I had like a little studio, and it was pretty awesome. And since it was like a big enough space, I actually could work out there as well. Anyways, so I spent that last year pretty much at home at my dad's working, and then like practicing and composing from the basement, recording stuff, sending that in, and that was honestly quite fun. I think we're going to smelt up some more stone, though we do seem to have quite a lot, so we'll wait. In fact, one of the songs that I composed for my last semester, or my second to last semester, I'm not sure. Let me take a sip of coffee. Was the theme song that I used for my first videos on the channel. I'll try to remember to play a little bit right now. And I'll leave a little link in the description if someone wants to like go and listen to it perhaps. I'm quite proud of those pieces. And we'll take that as like a launch pad to our next subject, which is after college. So after college, you know, I graduated, but like I said, I didn't have many friends or people that I hung out with afterwards. And let's be honest, actually, in that case, the pandemic didn't help. So it's like, what do you do? And I think the degree helped, but like a lot of times I think the degrees, they help, but sometimes you get out of there and you're like, you don't know the realities of the real world and how to actually get hired. And especially in music, it's like, what does get hired even mean? So what I did is I looked up music schools that were hiring, and I found one in a city. And I had a friend, well, I have a friend who she was going to move out to that same city to study in to be a veterinarian. So what we did is we basically planned to move out together to try to get like a kickstart in what we were doing. So we found an apartment and everything. Actually, no, we hadn't found an apartment yet. What we did was she signed up for the classes. I think she had to wait to be accepted. And what I did is I applied to 2 schools. Both answered, only one was looking. And I basically had a phone call with the boss. And I don't remember this, but this is the story that she tells, so I'm going to stick with it. Apparently, I said that, yeah, I live in that city and I can be there for sure. I know I ended up being able to actually meet her in person, so I guess I told a fib and said that I lived there and got hired. And then once that happened, then I really had to get like my stuff in check and in gear, and then we moved to that city. And that's where my little music career started. And so when I landed the job, we moved to the city and I started working as a guitar teacher, and it was actually decent pay considering the jobs I had before, but it's not something that you get like a million hours of work every week. So I had to find other jobs to like kind of make ends meet. All right, sorry, I had to take a little break. Where were we? I think we're talking about, we just started working at the music school. Yeah. So for this next part, I have a hard time gauging passage of time, but looking back on it, it feels like it was like quite a big span of time. But actually, I think it was this next sequence all took place within like a year to maybe a year and a half. So within that year, we moved. I started working at the music school, but like with the classes, it led to about at first I'd say like at first was a day, then 2 nights, and then 3 nights of teaching. But all in all, like I was like what was considered almost full time by the end of that time period for the music school. But that's like only topping between I guess 14 to 20 hours, which wasn't enough to pay all my bills solely. That's just the nature of it. For the most part, a lot of our students are students, so it's like after school hours, and it's before their bedtimes. So, like, figure from like 4 to 9 tops. Being the sole guitar teacher for a while, I got like a bulk of those. And, anyways, yeah, we could probably talk about that some more some other time. To subsidize that, when I first got there, I was also still like, that's when I really got into training and being in shape, which I've lost a lot. But I was way into like learning about it and doing it. So I actually was working for a second job at a gym as like kind of a receptionist. And yeah, so I'd go and open the gym in the mornings. So I'd get there, I think around 5 in the morning to open it by 6, if I recall correctly. And then I do those shifts. I think that was a few days a week. And then in the, well, not night, like not midnight, but like in the late afternoon to, I guess evening is the right word. From evening to night, then I'd go and teach at the music school. So I did that for a while. But the gym too was also a job where they kind of had like this thing where you can't do over like maybe 15 hours a week. The only reason I actually did more for a while is because they were so understaffed that I could. But that was technically against their policies. So I ended up having to leave that job to go work at a factory. And I know around the same time, I was talking to my music school. Actually, here, let's turn the music up since we're doing a weekly dose of Minecraft. I was talking to my music school boss, and luckily for me, my boss at the music school, she's my boss, but we're also very, very friendly. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, it's not like that she's just a friendly person. But like, I would also consider her not necessarily a close friend, but we are friendly, right? So I was talking to her, I was like, I like what we're doing, but I can't live with just what you guys are, you guys have for me. And it wasn't like me reproaching them. It's just like, I need more money. So I was thinking about going, already by then I was actually thinking about going back to school. And since I was into training, I was like, maybe I could go in kinesiology. Maybe I'll go in to university and further my degree in music, which she actually discouraged me from doing. But anyway, so I don't remember exactly that conversation, but like I mentioned, like I'm gonna have to look for something else because I just need more money to survive, and she understood fully. So around that time, I got hired to work at a factory, and on that point, I made more money. And I'm actually thinking, sorry, I take a pause. During that first year, I think, yeah, before the factory. Okay, yeah, we'll come back to that later. In that first year before the factory is when we actually had the second lockdown for COVID. So what happened there to like further the financial struggles was that since I worked in two industries where you're close to people, I lost, in a sense, both jobs shut down. So I had just like nothing coming in all of a sudden. And we had some subsidization here, but it wasn't the greatest, let's just say that. And it didn't carry me very far. So yeah, we got through that, and then once I remember once stuff started up again, I started working back at the music school, worked for about, I think, 3 hours, and then they cut all my subsidization. So then there was like a big struggle for a while too, because it's like, oh, okay, you work 3 hours, we'll give you nothing to help you. So yeah, anyways, around that time on the way back is when I started thinking like, maybe I should look into something else because this isn't like working. And I had pretty much given up on the idea of like touring and stuff. I don't think it's something that I would like doing nowadays. I think about it. I'm very, very introverted and like being at home and in my stuff. So yeah, I was for a while doing Fiverr gigs. So basically I would like compose little bits of music for people who want to use it in their little indie games or like their Dungeons Dragons character. And that was fun. And I think there was a part of me that was like kind of hoping like maybe by doing this, I'll get some recognition. But looking back, I think I was kind of being half-hearted. I wasn't like sold on anything. So sometime around then is when I left the gym job and got hired at the factory. That was kind of helping financially, but the lockdown really shook me up and got it really screwed me. Let's just say we're doing better now, but like it was rough. And so that kind of helped out, but it was really fatiguing. So what I started out doing was I was working night shift at the factory, and then I'd go teach. So actually, in terms of time-wise, that worked out the other way around. So I would wake up around, let's say 2:30 to 3, have breakfast, go teach from like 4, anywhere from 4 to 9 p.m. And then from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., I was working night shift at the factory. And boy, was I tired. And that kind of helped financially, though honestly, I was like decently indebted enough because of the lockdown, and also just part of it is just my fault too. You know, you're young, you're dumb, you want to live, so you maybe spend a few too many dollars on a piano, and yeah. So did that for a while, but like quickly realized that like, this isn't the life that I want to lead, man. This isn't what I want to do. And it was so tiring that like I ended up not enjoying teaching as much either, because I was just tired all the time. And also, I'm not going to get into it a whole lot, but I think I do still like teaching, but just not as much as I like to. And I don't want to just do that. But I think the way the teaching was set up for us is very peculiar, since it's like you're teaching your passion, like in theory. So yeah, how is the wall looking? It's kind of absent-minded. I might go back and tweak it, but I think it is looking nice. So yeah, so that's when I really started thinking like, man, I gotta try something else. Luckily, around that time, my boss recontacted me, and she was getting burnt out running the school and running her other businesses. And she had like there was another teacher who was basically like her helper, but she was also leaving because she was taking up her father's business. So she gave me a call, and at first I thought I was in trouble or something, but no. Basically, she offered me to take up a role as kind of like a director of the school, or like an assistant director of the school, because she remembered our talk about needing more money and stuff, and I guess they didn't want me to go just yet. And for her, it would allow her to kind of ease up on everything that was taking up her time at the school and focus on more of her other businesses. So jumped on that opportunity and left the factory, which that I regret none. So around all that time, like a bit before that promotion and whatnot, is also when I started dating my now fiance. So through all the teaching, I think I learned quite a bit of things about myself. I got a lot more comfortable with people. I actually got better at my craft, I think, because just because explaining it makes you think deeper about it. And like the amount of times that a student comes up and wants to learn a song that you never heard forcibly makes your ear better and you get quicker at learning things. The sad thing was, I think there was a part of me that was saddened because I wasn't composing as much, just because I was just tired all the time and the inspiration wasn't there. And that's like kind of semi an excuse, because inspiration and motivation is one thing, but discipline also comes into account. I was spending a lot of time actually managing the school. So that was preparing schedules, contacting students, dealing with payments, all that good stuff. I actually started also doing like a kind of pre-K, which I did for about 2.5 years, which also is a way different experience. Some pros, some cons. I'm happy I did it. We also managed to, I organized like some kind of like musical exploration kind of gigs at local elementary schools for about kindergarten age kids, which that was fun too. I actually got offered a role as an elementary school teacher in music, but around that time I made a decision that kind of countered that. And also, I don't think it's something that ultimately I would enjoy doing every day for the rest of my life. So yeah, around this time, I'll be honest with you, the timeline gets kind of messy in my head because it all just feels like one big bundle of time. So I apologize for maybe a lack of cohesion nor coherence for this part. I was pretty much working full time at the music school, doing all my managing stuff first and teaching, which also was kind of fatiguing because you like you swap between responsibilities and roles. So you swap from like director to director again to teacher again. And yeah, I also did a fair bit of band classes. So that's something that was done before the pandemic, but like we hadn't done since then. So we managed to start doing those again, and I was the first one to actually have those classes. So around the summer of, let's see, we are approaching summer 2026. If I'm not mistaken, it was summer 2024, end of summer 2024. My fiance and I were looking for a game to play. By the way, we play so many games together. I love it. And we had nothing to play, seemingly, and we had like kind of glossed over Minecraft a few times, and now this is where we're getting to Minecraft. I apologize that it's so far into the video, but if you made it this far, comment, I don't know, stop rambling, man, something. So around this time is when we kind of scrolled past in our PlayStation store thing. We had Minecraft. Actually, she owned it, and I had never really actually played Minecraft before. I played like maybe once or twice in creative with my cousins, but never got into it. We had thought about trying it a few times, and I don't remember if it was her, if it was me. I actually think she told me that she wanted to try to play with me, but she thought I wasn't going to like it, so we hadn't done it. So then we tried, and I think at first I thought it was so hard, and I was kind of like annoyed. But after that like initial part, I think I was just like so hooked, man. It was a great feeling, and I remember it fondly because we both, like, she knew a bit more about the game, but like she doesn't know everything. And after like the very beginning, we were both like didn't know what to do. And we're trying to figure out, and it was an awesome feeling. We had like a little house and stuff. And actually, I think what I'm gonna do is well, it's just gonna be a second for you, but I'm gonna go ahead and open the PlayStation and invite myself into the world, and we can talk from there. Nope, never mind. I just remembered that we cannot, for some reason, my PC now, for a while, like a while ago, I can't access Bedrock Edition at all because it's a Windows 10 PC. The only reason I can still do the videos and play Minecraft is because the Prism launcher exists. So yeah, anyways, so we played for a bit, and like we were like really hooked in. We were like playing split screen on the PlayStation, and we built our little house, and then we moved and built another house. And I remember, which is kind of funny because I never do this now, I brought down our old house to build our new house because I needed wood, as if there wasn't wood everywhere around in the world. And then it's like she really wanted to show me the nether, but she didn't know how to actually get to the nether, so she opened up creative and like we spawned in another portal, but we were in peaceful by that time, so like there was nothing. So yeah, we did that for a while. After a certain point, she had gotten her fill and wanted to play some other games, but I was addicted, man. I was hooked. So I started another world for myself on the PlayStation that I called Foreverland. And I think around this time, I also started watching YouTube videos about Minecraft. I think around that time, I was pretty much watching maybe Grian and It's Marlow. And It's Marlow was like my guy, and it still is pretty much my guy. Like every Saturday, I'm there, man. So I made this world, and I really still didn't know that much about the game, so I was playing almost like in a way that we are in this world. The way we're playing in this world is very reminiscent of how I played in that world. I'm just gonna turn the music down a bit because I'm having a hard time thinking. So like in that world, I think I'm at a few hundred days, no nether, no game progression, nothing, barely a farm, barely some iron, just building a little house dedicated to us. And exploring, I made like a little bridge to an island that I called Sugarcane Island, and I just had sugarcane growing around it, and like this like tower in the middle that was topped with the cherry blossom cap, I guess, the lookout section. So yeah, I was really into it, and then getting more into watching YouTube, I was very interested into the Java side of everything. So eventually, I went ahead and I didn't buy the game. I got the Xbox Game Pass and tried it on the PC that we are recording on at this very moment. And then I got into, I made myself a first world on that and thought the game was so much harder. And yeah, it took a while to actually get it running. It was running horribly at first and I thought I couldn't play. I don't know why exactly. I think it was just like around 1.20 and I think it was probably horribly optimized. So after tweaking a bit and adding in some optimization mods, everything was fine. And I got into like, in that world was the first world that I actually beat the dragon and got to experience Elytra, and it was cool. That one we could probably open up. No, actually, it'll take too much time. Sorry, I'm too scatterbrained. Maybe some other time. There is a video, one of my first ones that's called like saying goodbye to my favorite world, which is a little mini tour of that. If you want to hear my shy voice exploring the world, maybe cringe a bit. I don't know. So yeah, got way into playing that. Played way too much. And in this time, at work, professionally, I was starting to feel more and more fatigue and just like loss of interest in what I was doing. I think, you know, if we just like, I don't know. It sounds very negative and I'm not trying to like paint it in a negative light because I don't regret any of it. I think it's just like, I think it's just not what I want to do in life. So the prospect of only having that available to me, I think, was weighing me down. And I would like at some point to talk about more in detail, like some of the things I like the most about doing that and some of the things I like the least. And it's kind of funny because I am still doing it. I remember like one of the semesters I had another band course, and the way the band thing works is that you have to have a minimum of 4 band members. We changed it a little bit now, but bands are kind of hard to organize in the kind of school that we are at because you have to get like a certain amount of students who are available at the same time and who are close enough in skill level for it to actually make sense and be enjoyable for everyone and for there to actually be some kind of benefit to actually playing together, because you can't spend that time teaching the students how to play their songs and learning their parts. They have to be experienced enough to do that on their own or to have like a teacher who can do that for them on the side. And for it to be worthwhile for the teachers financially and also interesting, we required a minimum of 4 students so that we could actually have like a full sounding band. You could have like a band with less technically if it's just because it's limiting on like the songs that you can choose, and you have to have some members do a bit extra. So if they're more advanced, it helps. There's also the teacher who can play, like I could play with them. We had the first year, I think the first year and a half of bands that was going well, but the last one that I took, we just couldn't get the inscriptions coming in. Either people weren't available at the right times or just didn't want to do it, which, you know, is fine. But once again, it was one of those things where like I was giving so much of my time and energy and effort, and to not have that reciprocated eventually wore me down. I remember after a bunch of struggle, we actually managed to get like one schedule up and running, and we had that band going, and I was hyped, but it was really hard compared to the other years. The levels were all over the place, and the interest, and the kids weren't practicing their songs, and there was one student who was a guitar student, but like that wasn't her main instrument. So a lot of the class, I had to like, kind of like quickly show her how to play her parts, but then like it was kind of a mess. And then that same student quit the band, and what that ended up doing is we actually fell underneath the limit of what the minimum is. And then we were 5, that we felt 4, and then another student quit because he was too stressed with his studies, which once again, I get. But what that did is that we fell underneath the limit of what was allowed for a band, and the band members that we had left, we weren't at a level where we could like do something that was fun for everyone without requiring extreme effort. but like I only had an hour with them as a gang per week. So basically, we just had to end up canceling the class, and that changed my schedule. And I remember being kind of frustrated. And that same night when we canceled that, I came home and my fiance was working, and that's when we started YouTube. Just like that, I just started the channel, downloaded OBS, started the world, didn't really know how anything worked, and I recorded the first episode of The Land of Wanderers, which came out, I think, a little over a year ago. I'd have to go check. And I got like really into it. It was so much fun, and it is so much fun. And here's where we get into how Minecraft changed my life. Sorry for bringing you through my whole life's journey, but I said we were talking about my story, so, you know. Started doing YouTube, and like all the YouTubers say, you know, it's awesome because like I got to play the game. I had a feeling that I was being productive, and I was also learning to speak better, organize my schedule even more to be able to actually get some videos out, learned how to edit, learned how to record, learned how to balance levels. I can't do animations, but I learned like basic editing skills like transitions and putting subtitles, which I don't actually do. In one video, I learned how to do a green screen, so I can kind of do that. In like now today, I find that my newest videos, I've learned a lot more about like cinematics and kind of placing the camera and pacing my videos. And now for videos like this, just like expressing myself and trying to talk clearly and stuff like that. And when I started the channel, I don't know what like why exactly, but I thought it'd be cool to like have a website and everything all linked up. So I looked up how to do that. And that's when I found a tutorial to build a website with VS Code through HTML. So I started doing that, and I thought it was really cool. And like this sequence of events, I'm not really clear on. I don't remember exactly, but I did that for a few days, and I think I just decided that I was going to go back to school and studying computer sciences and programming. So that's what I did. I signed up computer sciences at a college near to where I live. And at the same time, I remember what triggered it. It's because I was trying to learn about Redstone, and I found a video that was like comparing Redstone to computer logic. So not so much like Redstone in the way that it works for, say, farms and like let's say a moss farm or like an item sorter, but more so for like games, like I guess like clocks, like the Ethel clock, and like when you see people build computers out of redstone, more so that. So it's comparing it to computer logic and like AND gates and OR gates and XOR gates, and I thought it was like so cool. And then I also had like the HTML thing on the side. So I pretty much just decided, like, I think that's something I'd like to do. It's making things, it's computers. I like computers, so I signed up for computer sciences. And then I didn't actually study much until like the semester started, because usually I would, but I figured, you know, I'm going to learn it anyways. I'm going to spend whatever time I have between now and then to actually just do my job. And then the rest of the time I'm going to make videos and get good at that. And that's what I did. But now here I am doing YouTube. I think I've gotten decent at it. I'm not like the best YouTuber, but I think my videos are fun, especially the latest ones. And I'm studying in computer sciences. I can program now. I'm getting pretty good at it, I think. Like, I can't build full things. There's a lot that I don't know, but like I think I'm picking it up pretty quick, and I'm building things, and it's like so much fun. I have on multiple occasions stopped playing Minecraft to go and program in code, to give you an idea. And it's just nuts to think about, because that little peak of interest, like the redstone leading to computer logic and just logic altogether with, and binary, and wanting to make a site, that little thing, that little penchant in actually doing YouTube is what led me to make the choice to study into computer sciences, which I think, and I know it's going to be a struggle with AI and whatnot now, but that's why I'm trying really hard to study really hard and do a lot of projects and get really, really good at what I'm studying. But thanks to Minecraft, not only have I found like a game that I can always come back to and that feels like a second home and it's just so much fun, it changed my career path and what I'm doing with my life. And I think ultimately I am happier for it. So I can think back to just like a year and a half ago. I don't think I was unhappy. You know, I had a good job. I was playing music and teaching music. I was engaged, and for that part I was happy. But I know career-wise, the stuff, I felt very much like lost and didn't know what I wanted to do. Now I have this that isn't a career right now, but it's fun. It's like the side project that I've maintained the most. And what I'm studying, I'm honestly think I feel way more passionate about than actually when I was doing music, which is another subject I want to talk about some other time. And yeah, I'm probably, if things go well, I'm going to be in the field, hopefully. Yeah, I know there's a lot of like discourse and things going on with the field, so maybe not. Maybe I'm just like digging myself into a hole, but it's a very interesting hole. We're all going to die eventually, but I'm not going to die bored. So yeah, I just think it's crazy to think about. My fiance mentioned it like a few times. She's like, if you didn't play Minecraft, if I didn't show you Minecraft, you wouldn't be doing YouTube right now, and you probably wouldn't be studying in computer sciences right now. And it's just kind of nuts. And I guess here's another little side story from the computer science degree that I'm doing right now. We could probably talk about that too if you guys are interested. Ask me questions. I have another channel where I started working on things, but I have one video out, so I'll link that down below if you want to see my noggin. I have been thinking about another video to post on that soon as another project I'm going to build now that I have a lot more knowledge than when that one came out. But anyways, when I was studying in college for music the first time around, I had a roommate. And what's crazy is that all these years later, my partner that I work with now, where I am, and this is like a completely different city, is that dude's cousin. So like, small world, man. Small world. So anyways, that's about it for today. Thank y'all for listening. I hope if you made it this far, I hope this was valuable. I hope it was interesting and made sense somewhat. I have a feeling I rambled on a little bit, but it was fun to talk about. And I'd like to hear your stories. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching, and see ya.